everyone, we are Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
And Vince, before we do our topic today, before we get going, I'd like to start off by kind of re-examining the format of the show.
Baked potato. It was an autopsy.
What?
We're going to re-examine the, pull open the chest, and then it's actually baked potato. That's how you do an autopsy.
Random origami. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about is the length that this show has gotten to. Geeks Not Nerds lately has been getting, with the exception of last week, has been getting longer and longer. It seems like we keep getting closer and closer to 20, 25 minutes. And hey, guess what? We have a podcast.
What?
Yeah, I know.
How many minutes can we fit into this podcast?
30.
30?
Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit longer, but that's okay. It's a podcast. It's supposed to be a little bit longer. Well, it's actually supposed to be a lot longer. It's a podcast, but it's to listen to, not to watch on your computer.
Yeah. You can take it with you. You can stick it in your pocket.
In fact, I have gotten comments before where people are like, "I'm annoyed. There's nothing to look at." I'm like, "No, it's a podcast. We just post it on YouTube to save bandwidth on our podcast site, and because people like it there." So anyway, the reason I bring this up is because
I like it here. It's dark.
Recently, one of our good friends, Acreal, who's been a longtime viewer of ours, and he sent us stuff in the mail, and he's a really nice, great guy. He had a really nice constructive criticism for us. He sent me a message one day a couple weeks ago, and I actually agreed with this. What he said was, back in the day, Geeks Not Nerds was about starting conversations, not about finishing them. The idea is that for about 10 minutes or so, especially back to the old timer format, which we're, by the way, not bringing back, what would happen is we'd talk about something for 8-10 minutes, tops, and we wouldn't cover every crevice of the topic. You know what I mean? We wouldn't go all over it.
Because that takes a lot of spackle.
We would just bring up a few points that we thought of, and then we'd let you guys run in the comments and wherever else you might like to have conversations. It was about starting conversations, and I really liked that point that he made. And also, what's the point of long GNNs when you have a podcast? So I want to try to bring it kind of back to that. And I want to kind of start doing, and Vince and I have talked about this, and I think we're in agreement that we should start kind of going back to 10-minute Geeks Not Nerds. So the reason I bring this up and telling you guys about it is because we're going to start timing the videos. We're going to start making them 10 minutes. We're not bringing the timer thing back. We're just timing the overall video, 10 minutes. And I also wanted to mention it in case people get confused as to why we don't bring up certain things in a topic. Because sometimes we'll get comments where people are like, well, why didn't you bring this up? This is an obvious thing you should have mentioned. And please understand that there will be things that we won't bring up sometimes because we'll have our few points that we've decided that we want to focus on, and then you guys feel free to focus on other points on your own.
Yeah. Focus on a point. Look at it and then decide what it is, and be like, point.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, I think we should get started so that our 10-minute video isn't like 20 minutes because of our explanation.
Yeah. Well, it's okay this time. Okay, 10 minutes on the clock. And today we're going to talk about what I'd like to call Crisis on Infinite DVDs.
That's a lot of DVDs. It's almost like you should have Netflix to get that many DVDs. Yeah,
today we aren't sure if we anymore recommend Netflix. And the reason is because, as everyone probably knows by now, let's see, today is Wednesday, this is going up tomorrow, so by the time that we're recording this right now, yesterday, Tuesday, Netflix announced that they're going to start splitting their two services. So no longer will you, by the 1st of September, no longer will you be able to stream your Netflix and get discs in the mail for the $10 a month that it costs right now, or what, $10, $11, I think is what it is right now. Instead, they're going to split it up, and you have your choice to either pay $8 to stream, $8 for one DVD a month. I mean, one DVD a month. One DVD each time you get it in, and then of course, like always, you can pay more to get more discs. But each of those services costs $8, and if you want, there's no package deal. So if you want them both, you have to pay $16. And I have not seen the mass exodus of fans getting angry about this since what happened with Conan O'Brien. I mean, like, it's bad. They've had over 5,000 comments negative comments on Facebook. They've had they've maxed their quota of comments on the article on their blog, and people are just angry and up in arms about it. So what do you think, Vince?
I think that it's kind of a steep jump. I mean, it's not necessarily such a bad thing to have to pay for one or either service or both services, but it's not such a bad thing that they don't offer a package deal, but it's a bad thing that they're saying, let's nearly double how much you guys are paying for this. I mean, if you want people to pay more, you kind of have to take baby steps. I mean, imagine if you're paying your rent and suddenly somebody said, oh, okay, so your rent is $650. All right. Well, the next time you come in, it's going to be $1,000. What? All of a sudden?
Yeah, and actually, that's great. Can I add something to that? What makes that analogy more comparable to this would be if your apartment complex put in a swimming pool and then months later decided to charge you for it.
Yeah.
That's what it would be like. It would be like, oh, well, you guys have been enjoying the swimming pool for a while that we just added on to the complex. We're going to hike your rent up $100 so we can help pay for it. Well, when we, by the way, didn't ask you if you wanted the swimming pool. It's kind of like that. Now, the different, or actually, what it would be more like is you can either live here or you can live in the swimming pool.
Can I have the swimming pool?
But it's cheaper in the long run. But anyway. So, here's the thing. They added the streaming a few years ago, and when they started, let me give you a quick history lesson. I don't know if you know this. I've been with Netflix nearly since they started. And when they added the streaming at first, they gave you a limit of how many things you could stream a month with the price that you were already paying. So you could watch like 10 things a month, and then they'd cap you off. And then as they started adding more and more stuff to it, they eventually made it unlimited because they realized that people liked it. And then the streaming thing was starting to gain them tons more customers. And now they've decided, well, we've got more stuff on the streaming, and we've got the DVD thing. So honestly, I'm with the people who say that it's a big money-making scheme. It's hard to look at it as anything other than a 67% hike, because yes, you can choose one or the other, and you can ultimately pay less, but you're losing half of what you used to get. I mean, like, it's really, I think it's actually quite unfair to suddenly say, if you want the service, the entire service you're already getting, you have to pay 67% more. Yeah. And let me also mention that this is not the first time they've raised prices this year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they raised prices earlier in the year. I think they raised everything by like $1 or something.
You know, it'd be $8 for either service isn't necessarily terrible.
No, it's not.
I mean, if you were to go back to the beginning and, like, say Netflix suddenly came into existence now and they were releasing these prices, people would say, well, cool, you know, I'd like to have an $8 streaming. That wouldn't be bad, or $8 for DVDs a month. That wouldn't be too greatly bad. But when you say you are getting this service, we know that they're making money with this service, and suddenly they decide to change it. That's a different story. Because you've already told us what you have and what you need to make money, and now you're just trying to get more.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is that there was no explanation. You know, they didn't come out and say anything like, we're struggling to survive, please understand. It was nothing like that, and they're obviously not struggling to survive. At least as far as I can tell, they seem to be doing really well. They've got tons and tons of people using their services. And keep in mind that besides bandwidth, I mean, when you're paying just to stream stuff, I mean, they're making a lot of money on that. I mean, actually, they have to, I'm sure, pay the companies to, you know, get those movies and stuff. But still, the overhead is got to be pretty minimal.
You know, the thing about Netflix for me is that it's such a convenient service. I mean, especially with the streaming, because you know, how does this deter people from piracy?
That's a really good point.
I mean, at some point you have to think, well, do I want to pay? This was easy, this was cheap, it was convenient, and I didn't have to pirate anything. And now a person looks at it and says, well, it doubled in price. I do have an internet connection, and I have the savvy to know how to use that stuff, so why don't I just do that? I went from what was cheap to double priced to free again.
Yeah, and let me also add to that you still, if you just paid for the streaming, would have access to the streaming stuff, so there'd be no reason to pirate that. But I don't use the disc part of it a lot, But every now and again, there's something I can't get any other way, or I could, but I don't want to buy it. You know what I mean? And I don't want to just download it. And also, I'm not, and not everybody has this, but I also have this extra weird thing because of Rewind, where I need things on disc sometimes so that I can take the screenshots out. What am I going to do if I don't have the access to discs? I guess I'm just going to buy every movie I review if I don't already have it, or if I can't borrow it from someone, because people have made the argument, well, you can do Redbox, yeah, but they don't have everything. I mean, they're mostly current stuff. Not everything fits in that little red box. And Redbox, so far, I think it's a pretty good company. I like what they do, but they don't have enough. I've always been with Netflix because it's about access. And so the thing with the piracy argument is you're taking away access. I mean, you're not taking it away, but you're making people pay double for the access. So
you're making it more exclusive anyway.
You're making it to where it's not worth it to pay for the discs unless you're getting so many a month.
Yeah.
And that's how it used to be when it started. But what was great with the streaming thing is that if I don't if I don't rent a disc for 3 months, but I've been watching a ton of stuff on streaming, it's worth my price. If that makes sense.
I'm not a big fan of downloading movies. I like the feel of a comic book in my hand. I like the feel of a DVD box in my hand. I like to have this available, and making it more difficult to get. Like, for example, I for the longest time I wasn't a part of Netflix. I didn't have that stuff. I would go to Blockbuster. I would go to our local rental places, and I went into a Blockbuster at one point looking for the Jaws DVD.
Oh, so you could do it for
everyone? And I couldn't find, how do you walk into Blockbuster and not find a major movie, a major motion picture, one of the first that ever...
And they weren't out, they just didn't have it.
Yeah, they don't carry it. I don't understand how would they only have a selection of new releases and then a couple of old movies.
Well, you know why? Because that's all they're making money on.
Yeah.
The way that these video stores that are still around are surviving, or at least trying to survive, is they have exclusive deals with movie companies so that they get new releases before Netflix and Redbox do. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
So Netflix and Redbox don't get new releases the day that they officially come out. That's the only thing that keeps these stores alive, and that's why you're seeing them having fewer and fewer movies, because all they're selling or all they're renting out are brand new things.
Mm-hmm. I was talking to the manager of the local Family Video in Lawrence, and what she told me was kind of interesting in regards to getting old movies. She had a couple movies in her personal collection and brought them in because she knew people would want to rent them.
Interesting.
And that's kind of... It's interesting, and I support Family Video because it's a good company and they do things like that, and they try to make it as easy, they make customer service the big part of that. So,
and the company was okay with her doing stuff like that?
The company didn't care.
Wow.
And or at least she told us that's what they did, that's what she did, and nobody had apparently jumped on her about it. So and the company's making money off of it, so why not? But I guess my point here is...
That kind of out-of-the-box thinking sometimes is a little bit too much for major corporations, that's all I'm saying.
Well, no, that's why Family Video is great, because, the big difference between Family Video and Blockbuster...
Oh, keep going, it's cool.
Well, the interesting thing that's the difference between Family Video and Blockbuster, say you have a rental and you have a problem with that rental and you want your money back, well, it's going to take you a month or two to get that money back because they're going to have to go through all of these corporate angles to get it back. But at Family Video, they give the stores the authority to do this stuff. Like, even an associate can say, hey, I want to help this customer out, so I'm going to help decrease their late fees, or I'm going to help do this and that just to make this guy happy. I'm going to develop a payment plan so you can keep renting DVDs and pay off your late fees. So as opposed to punishing you for having messed up in the past, they say, well, let's help this guy out. That's why Family Video is cool.
So let's go ahead and do final thoughts on this, Vince. Bottom line, it's 2011, and I feel like we've got this weird thing where we have a lot of access and then not enough access all at the same time. Because I guess it just depends on what you need. Like, I feel like my wife and I talked about this, and she made a really great point. She said that what Netflix is doing is just premature. That, like, if they had a lot more streaming, Because they're not doing very many new releases either. I should point that out. That if you're paying $8 to stream or $8 for DVDs, well, if you just get the DVDs, it's going to take a couple days, but you can at least get new stuff. Streaming, I mean, they've got a lot of good stuff on there now, but they don't really put out a lot of brand new things when they come out. And so it just seems like it's not real comparable. You know what I mean? You're paying $8 for a library, or you're paying $8 for the mother load. You just have to wait longer. It's really kind of strange. So my bottom line is, we're not at a point yet where it feels like enough to just download movies, right? I mean, I sometimes still need things in a certain format.
Yeah. To some extent, I feel like this is a move to kill DVDs.
Oh, absolutely it is.
So that's my final thoughts. Is I don't appreciate the death of the thing I'm collecting.
Yeah, well, there's that. I mean, I think we all understand that eventually it's going to kind of move that direction, but I don't want to not be able to get a hold of something just because of cash grabs, if that makes sense. What I'm saying is, it used to be a little bit simpler. Like okay, we had a. I know we're going over time, but I got to mention this. We had this great video store in Dillon's at one point. In one of our local grocery stores in Lawrence, if you're not familiar with the company. We had this really great video store when I first moved to Lawrence. They had this giant collection of DVDs. I mean, pretty much anything you were ever looking for, you could walk in there and find. And it was reasonable, and you could keep things for 4 or 5 days. It was really good. And that kind of stuff doesn't survive anymore. We don't have that anymore. And I feel like it's kind of limiting our access sometimes. Where oh yeah, you can have access to everything, but you have to have a subscription-based plan, or you have to pay $2 or $3 to stream something over the internet. And I mean, maybe I should consider that the same thing, but for some reason in my head it's just not. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no more thoughts. I mean, well, I do, but we're over time, so I'm going to let those slide.
Oh, no, it's cool. Is there anything else you want to say? All right, okay, cool. Well, yeah, what do you think about this? Are you bugged by what Netflix is doing? Hiking prices up and that kind of thing? Leave us a comment, let us know. Also, if there's something you'd like us to talk about in a future video, leave that in the comments as well. And thanks a lot for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince, reminding you to support your local comic book store and rental store, if you so choose.
See you later.
Cat?
I'm a cat too.